Coming into this entire experience, I had no idea what to expect and was just super excited to be able to travel outside the United States. Just looking at the itinerary for both the class and the travel portions, there's a lot of things that made me really excited, but also made me nervous. One thing about the class that worried me was getting to know some of the students in a short period of time, as that is one thing I tend to struggle with. This ties a bit in with our first week discussion of expectations, as I am an introvert and can struggle at times with meeting new people. However, I've had plenty of other opportunities that I'm more than willing to try new things, so that's not a problem. It's just after a long, busy day, I prefer my alone time, thus making friends can be a real challenge for me. But honestly, it has been going better than expected, and I was able to learn about Costa Rica before actually entering into the country. One thing that has definitely surprised me was learning how similar Costa Rica is to the United States in many aspects. Specifically looking at the government structure, the two countries are very similar with having 3 different branches of government and the people electing the president and other individuals in power as well. There's also a multitude of similarities in many aspects like the economy and other factors, but there's also differences. One main difference I learned about before traveling was the family structure, because in Costa Rica, there can be many generations that live under a single roof. It could be the grandkids, the kids, and the grandparents. There could be 3 generations in one household. Individuals will live with their parents and even their grandparents, like I mentioned, most of their life until they get married, when they go out and start their own family, and then it'll be the same kind of concept. This is extremely different compared to the United States, where only a single family lives in a home, which is the parents and the child, but individuals typically move out at 18 or after college, which can be long before they get married, so there's a big difference there. However, since Costa Rica is an ecotourism destination, a lot of what we will be doing abroad revolves around the ecosystems of the country. Throughout our 3-week stay, we'll be seeing a wide variety of locations, including the rainforest, the cloud forest, and the Central Valley. We'll be going on a chocolate tour, which I'm super excited about, the coffee tour, and even a cheese farm tour, which love me some cheese from Wisconsin. I'm also super excited for all that we'll do and experience. I'm so excited, I cannot wait, and I'm really looking forward to all the plants and animals. I don't think I'll ever be getting up at 1 a.m. again if I don't have to, because that was brutal. Getting checked in went better than expected, but for some reason security stressed me out, even though I had literally nothing to hide. It was just like, gotta get going, gotta get through, so many people behind me, but like, I don't know why. There's no one. I wasn't stressed. Like, I had nothing to hide, honestly. However, I do not recommend sitting next to a 2-year-old for a 5.5-hour flight if you can't, especially one that has a lot of energy. I got kicked and bumped multiple times, along with being hit with a teddy bear and even a dinosaur. It's not like there's anything I could have done, so I just dealt with it, and it is what it is. Luckily, he was actually pretty happy and not crying the whole time, so that was good. But I managed, and it definitely was an experience. Hoping I don't have to do it on the way home, but you never know. We weren't even a half hour into the flight, and I was so done with this 2-year-old. I was like, get me out of here. I want to be off this flight in Panama. No thank you. But we made it through, and I did manage to take a couple naps, which I was surprised, but I think that's because he also took a nap, so it's quiet. But yeah, we landed safely in Panama, and it was nice to be able to walk around and stretch my legs finally. We only had an hour before we boarded our next flight, which was an hour and a half, but it felt like a lot shorter, probably because I took another nap. Not gonna lie, on that flight, I was out. Going through customs and baggage claim went extremely smoothly, and I only got asked how many days we'll be staying by customs, where some people were like, what's your job, and like where you're staying, and I only got asked how many days. It's kind of strange that they didn't really ask me many questions, but I'm not complaining either. I got on the bus and drove to dinner, but on the way we passed like 10 KFCs, which is a lot, and I'm like, what do they have with KFC? Do they really like KFC, or what's going on? But one thing also is, like, you could probably reach out of a bus and touch the vehicle next to you. Like, they drive so close to each other. It was kind of insane, not gonna lie. Dinner was at a cool place that overlooked the lights of the city. The food was okay, but the dancing was so much fun to watch, as it was kind of native to Costa Rica. After dinner, we went back to the hotel, called it a night, and honestly, it was just a good day. Long, but most of it was traveling, but it was a great day, a lot of fun experiences, definitely something different to see and unique. We started off the morning with a walking tour of San Jose, which was cool, but also the museum. Throughout the walking tour, we saw many of the important buildings of Costa Rica, including the Monument, Theater, Judicial and Legislative Branch buildings, and the Legislative building was like a prison. It was a solid block of cement with not a single window. Like, who would want to work in that personally? Like, I would not, especially if I was making the laws. No, thank you. But, you know, not my decision. While walking around, I noticed that most of the buildings have bars and in the windows, but also occasionally a wire fence around the property. Our tour guide, Andrea, was great. Later informed us that they help prevent crime, but also stops birds and other animals from coming in and stealing food and other things, which back in history must have been a real problem because they still do it, and now it's more of also a decoration to the home rather than just to prevent crime in the animals. The museum went through most of the history of Costa Rica, including the abolishment of slavery along with their army. So Costa Rica does not have an army at the moment, and they're very proud of that. There were a lot of cool artifacts that were interesting and in amazing condition. There was also a butterfly garden, which was amazing, and one even landed on me, which was unexpected, but I was kind of wearing a yellow flower shirt, so maybe they were attracted to that. After the tour, we went to the Central Market, which was extremely overwhelming for me. There are so many shops and places to eat in such a small areas, like the size of a U.S. block, but there was like 100 shops within that little block area. It was insane. But it was just too much for me, so we went somewhere else to eat for lunch that day. I got pastor tacos, which were really good, and we went back to the hotel for a while to get ready for the night activities. So that night we went to the festival called Zapote, which had a bunch of different foods, drinks, music, and even a rodeo, which we got to go to. The rodeo was so much fun and had a bunch of bullfighting, with even a couple of individuals getting hurt, which they weren't severely hurt, but one of them was definitely bleeding at the end, but it was pretty cool to watch. There was only one bull rider and 3 barrel racers, so I was a bit disappointed with that because I was expecting more considering it's a rodeo. So I was thinking it was going to be kind of like a U.S. rodeo, but there was a lot of bullfighting rather than bull riding in the barrels. But otherwise, it was really cool to see, and even though it was raining on and off all night, it was still a pretty cool and fun experience overall. But that was the end of the day too, and we had so much fun and we loved it. It was great. Today we departed for our next destination of La Fortuna, which was about only 4 hours, but the roads were pretty as heck. We stopped at a nice little bathroom restaurant place, and there was a beautiful view, so we had to take pictures, of course. Once we got to La Fortuna, our first thing was to go see the La Fortuna waterfall, which granted was only 500 steps to get there, but it was straight downhill to get there, and my legs for some reason were shaken by the bottom, and we were only going downhill. However, the waterfall was really cool. It's really pretty. It was raining a little bit that day, so it was like kind of miserable, but it was really cool because you're in the rainforest next to a waterfall where the water's kind of spritzing at you from the bottom, but it's also raining, so it was a really cool experience, and like it was amazing. So you could swim at the bottom, which when I was trying to go to the bottom of the waterfall, I slipped and fell in a little bit. Didn't hurt myself, only got some bruises. But I fell in a little bit to the waterfall, and then there was another part, if you go down below, where there was fish in the water, and it was kind of more downstream of the waterfall, but it was still really neat to see and more relaxed swimming. And then we had to go up. Granted, still raining, wet from swimming, you had to go straight uphill those 500 steps. I cannot explain to you how much I was struggling. I was struggle busting. My legs were shaking. I was dying. I was like, just leave me here. Like, I could not. But I did make it to the top. I did make it back, and we changed, and then we went for lunch. The lunch was amazing. I think I got a pasta. It was so delicious. Like, it's insane how good that food was. And then we checked into our little hostel, which was the first experience for me. So there was, I think, 9 of us. There was 9 of us in a room. We each had our own bed. We had to share 2 showers. In the bathroom, you actually had to leave your room and go down a little bit to get to the bathroom and use the bathroom. Which, one thing also in Costa Rica is that you do not flush your toilet paper. You have to throw it away. So that was definitely a culture experience, culture shock for me, just getting used to that and not, doing the habit of what we do in the United States. But once we got to the hotel, checked in, we got ready to go out and celebrate New Year's. And I'm not going to go into my New Year's experience, but let's just say it was a great night. We all hung out, had a great time, watched the fireworks, the countdown, because technically not had a ball drop, but it was great. It was a great night. We had so much fun, and yeah. Today we had to get up at 8 a.m. to go horseback riding, which I'm so glad I did, but it was a rough one considering it was New Year's. But so we had to get up, go horseback riding. The horses were so pretty, and the views that we saw while horsebacking was insane. We traveled around the volcano, because La Fortuna is by the Arenal volcano. So we went around that. It was kind of foggy, so we didn't really get to see the volcano very much. But on the horseback tour, even there were some points where we were straight up galloping, like full on running with like the horses were running. It was insane. Like, I was so glad I did it. It was so much fun, and every time we did it, I was like, oh my goodness, I was nervous I was gonna fall off, like that kind of stuff. But it was so much fun, and like, so glad we did it. And granted, my butt did hurt after, but you know, that's kind of to be expected. Then we had lunch, free time for lunch, which I think I just chilled and tried to enjoy my day. And then that afternoon, we went on a chocolate tour. The chocolate tour was so much fun. We got to see how the plants grow, or what the plants look like in the cocoa, how it was harvested, and how like you can take the beans, rip them open, you can eat just the nibs, like inside the bean. So that's pure chocolate, pure dark chocolate. Like it's very bitter. It was definitely very bitter, but it was so good. And we got to kind of learn the whole process, and then we got to make our own chocolate bonbons. So we got to use like peppers, Himalayan sea salt, sprinkles, coffee, peanuts, coconut, cumin, turmeric, like to add to our chocolate, and try different combinations and make a really good one. One of my favorites was definitely like black pepper, and I don't remember what it was, but it was so good. And the chocolate they have thick chocolate. So, and it's really good with your antioxidants, clear stuff. It's so good. We had such a great time at the chocolate tour, and then that night we got to go hang out at the hot springs. So we went to a different resort for the hot springs. There's multiple different pools. Some of them were like 100 degrees, some of them were like, you know, normal standard pool temperature. But it was so much fun, and we had dinner, which was a buffet style. So there's a lot of different options, but it was really fun. The day was full of activities, but like really good, relaxing, fun activities that I never would have done by myself. So it was a great day. So this morning we had to get up early once again, but this time for hanging bridges. So we had a little drive past the lake. One thing I know also about Costa Rica is that a very high percentage, like 90% of their energy is naturally produced, so either by water, which is one of the lakes that they use, wind, or volcanic energy, which is really cool that they use some of the volcanoes to get energy to create electricity. But anyway, at the hanging bridges there was like 7 different bridges that we had to cross, and they were suspended over these deep canyons, so you gotta be making sure that, oh, my phone better not fall out, otherwise it's gone forever. I better not drop my water bottle, better not drop the GoPro, like it'll be gone, it'll be broken, we'll be screwed. But it was so cool. We saw lots of different animals. We saw, there was a spider, there was like birds, snakes even, there was vipers. That was not a snake person, but the views off the bridges were so beautiful. It was gorgeous. Like, I can't even describe like the beauty and just everything that happened on that trip. It was amazing. But our tour guide was so great. It wasn't Andrea, we split into 2 groups, so we had Raul, and at some point he started talking about his experience, one of his days where he was playing a soccer game, and in the sun he was drunk for a second time. It was so much fun. He was so great. We got coined the tequila group, so it was all of the boys on the trip, me and another girl, were part of the tequila group. So that became kind of the 2 groups for most of the trip. After the hanging bridges, we got to go back, have some free time for lunch, and then that afternoon was an optional activity, which most of us went ziplining. I've never been ziplining. It was so much fun. I'm so glad I did it. However, I didn't realize I wasn't recording for the first 3 lines. There were 7 lines total, so the first 3 lines did not get recorded, and then once I realized and I started recording the last ones, it was facing up, so I only got like the top shots. But if you looking around, actually ziplining and looking around, it was so beautiful. The trees, just all the lush nature around you was like insane. It was out of like a storybook or like a movie, like something you would never imagine. It was so gorgeous. Like, I'm so glad I did it. I'm so upset that the camera shots did not turn out. It was gorgeous. And then at that place we got to hang out at the hot springs again. They were a little different, a little warmer, but it was a wonderful evening and activity that I'm so glad I was able to do. So this morning we went up and went north, so we were about an hour south of the Nicaragua border actually, which was really interesting and cool that we were that close. It was kind of scary too. That morning we went to the Cano Negro Wildlife Refuge, so it was a little boat tour down the river. We got to see 3 different types of monkeys. We got to see the howler monkeys, which is the most common monkeys in Costa Rica. We got to see the spider monkeys. They are the smallest. They hang mostly from their tails. They're very active animals. And we also saw the white-faced monkeys, which are the meanest, and they're also called the mafia because they're known to like steal your stuff or attack things in groups. There's lots of iguanas that we saw, which were really cool, and most of them were like on top of the tree branches, like in the canopy of the tree. And our tour guide said that if they are being attacked, they will jump from the top of a tree into the water, which could be like 20 to 40 feet, and they'll survive just to get away from their prey or their predator, which was really cool and interesting. We also saw caimans. So caimans are like smaller versions of alligators and crocodiles. Costa Rica does not have alligators or crocodiles naturally, technically. But they have caimans, so caimans are their form of ours. They do have crocodiles in a specific river, which we'll talk about later for one of the other days that we had. But yeah, we saw lots of different animals. We saw some birds. We saw the Jesus Christ lizard. I don't think that's exactly what it's called, but it's called a Jesus Christ lizard because it can run on water, so that's where it gets its name. And yeah, so it was just a nice, lovely, relaxing boat ride down the river. Like, it was very peaceful. Got to see lots of animals, which was very nice. And then that afternoon, we went to the Maleku tribe, which is one of the 7 or 8 indigenous people of Costa Rica. And we got to learn about their ways and their medicinal plants that help you like a medicine and then have the different uses. There was also a lot of leafcutter ants just like walking around. You would literally see the path of like hundreds and thousands of ants. And we saw where it started, and we're cutting off the leaf and the original leaf that they were cutting off of, and then we kind of followed them to where they were going, and you could just see all the ants carrying leaves. It was so cool. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that many ants working at, like, it was insane. And then we got painted with a plant that produces natural inks and natural paints. So we got painted on the face with that, and we did a little archery. Did not go so well for me. I was kind of upset, but what could I do about it? I also tried fermented corn drink, I believe. It was very good. It was definitely different, but it was good. And we got to just kind of learn about their history and their people and how they used to make their clothes and their jewelry and that kind of stuff, the traditional things they do. And that was kind of all we did that day. It was a very relaxing, calm day with a few activities, with free time and lunch. So this morning we left La Fortuna, unfortunately, to drive to Monteverde, which, if there was a single road that went straight from La Fortuna to Monteverde, we would have been there in an hour and a half. However, we had to go around the lake and like a detour way, so it took us about 3 to 4 hours to actually get there. The hotel that we were staying at was like, if you think northern Wisconsin cabin, that's what it felt like, and that's what it looked like. It was so nice. It was gorgeous. We had some free time for lunch, and then we went to the bat house, which I was expecting a lot of bats within a single house. Like, they would be flying at us, like, we'd have to watch out. However, they were just in a single room behind a pane of glass, which was kind of nice because I'm not a fan of bats. But I was a little disappointed in terms of it didn't exactly meet up to my expectations, but we got to learn a lot about bats and their natural history and how many bats and the different kinds of bats that are within Costa Rica but also the world, and that there's a bridge in Austin, Texas that under them is the biggest colony of bats ever. It was really cool to see, and it was really cool to see the bats because at one point there was one even eating the watermelon as we were standing there looking at them. But it was pretty cool. And then that night we went on a coffee night jungle tour. It was so much fun. So our group split in two again, and my half went on the night tour first. It was so cool. We got to see a sloth that also had a baby with her, and within 10 feet of us. It was cool. Sloths are not very common to see, but being that close to one was so cool. We also saw a lot of spiders, weird bugs, frogs. We saw a couple vipers, snakes. We also got to see a mutmut, which is a type of bird, a toucan, I believe, and we also saw an owl, and I got a really cool picture. I love my owl picture, but it was really neat. But before the tour, we also made a sugarcane drink. So in Costa Rica, most of their drinks are made with sugarcane sugar, basically. So we made a cane juice. So out of the canes, we pressed the canes to get the juice out, and man, that was so good. It was insane. And after our night tour, we went and switched and we did the coffee tour. So we learned about the growing process, the growing needs of coffee, the different types of coffee. So light coffee, or light roasted coffee, I should say, is the best kind of coffee because it's got more taste and more caffeine in it. And dark roast is burnt, so it's more bitter, less caffeine in it, and that kind of stuff. And then there's 2 different types of processing and all that. We even got to try the coffee beans right off the plant. So if you take them, you squeeze it and you suck the beans. One's more sweet and one's bitter. There's a red and a yellow one. But it was really cool to see how they grow and just to be able to try the coffee. This wasn't my forte, but it was really good. And that's kind of all we did. It was more of a bus day that day, but it was a great day. So this morning we went to a cheese farm and had a little tour, or was supposed to have a little tour and a cooking class. There wasn't really a tour, which I was kind of disappointed in because I wanted to see how they made the cheese, that kind of stuff. That's what I was expecting. But instead, we got to make some sweetbread and our own empanadas for lunch from scratch. It was really cool because I've never like really made bread or even empanadas from scratch. So it was a really fun experience to work together to do that. And the empanadas, we used like fresh milk, so straight out of the cow fresh milk, and also fresh cheese that was made either that morning or the day before. It was really cool just to be able to use the natural ingredients to make the lunch, and in general the lunch was really good. It was a long time that we were there, but it was really fun activity and really unique to see like how the people from the land make their living and make their own food right from scratch, because even the chicken we had was from the chickens that they grew at the farm, or they raised at the farm. You don't grow chickens, but they raised at the farm. And like it was more of a cultural experience and a very humbling experience as well, at how lucky we are to be able to have all these ingredients from our home and not have to worry necessarily about growing them. And then we went to the Santa Elena Reserve and had a little relaxing hike. We saw some animals, a beautiful view of the Areno volcano, and lots of fun. It was a very short walk, but it was a great, nice walk. And then we departed Monteverde and we went to Liberia, which is our next location. And that was kind of the end of the day. We only had the 2 things, and we were on to our next destination. Today we didn't really have much going on. We just had a beach day. So we left at 11 to head towards the beach. So where we're staying is kind of in coast a little bit. So we had to head towards the coast, which was only a half hour. We had lunch, which I had some nice fish. It was delicious. And then all afternoon into the evening till sunset, we were able to hang out at the beach, go swimming, have some fun. I had ventured with a couple other students and our instructor down on some rocks, some volcanic rocks, to a place where we found you could jump off a rock into the ocean, and then there's like a little beach area. So I did that once, scraped my leg on the bottom of the ocean because there was some rocks there. And I kept going. We saw lots of little crabs and fish. It was a really cool experience to like walk on the rocks, to jump in the ocean from the rocks. I don't know. It was really fun. And then we went back, hung out in the ocean for longer. Stayed, watched the beautiful sunset. And then as we were trying to leave, there happened to be a car crash on the road that would take us back to our hotel. So it was either sit on the bus for a couple hours to wait for it to be cleared, or to go somewhere else to get lunch or get dinner. So we decided to go to the next town down, or over, the next beach town, to find a place to eat dinner. So we all got dinner, and then on the way back it still took a while because it wasn't clear, the traffic was backed up. So we were sitting on the bus and we didn't get back till midnight, roughly. It was 11. It was very late, and we were expecting to be back at like 7. So plans were kind of ruined to go back and chill at the pool. So, but yeah, we made the best of it, and we did what we could to keep us together and not lose our minds. So this morning we headed over to Rincon de la Vieja National Park. Basically, it was a national park around one of the most active volcanoes in Costa Rica. So this volcano they have been using to get volcanic energy to create some of their energy. It was in the dry forest. So when we first started walking, it was like covered with trees, and we got to see lots of different volcanic activities. So there's some like mineral pods, some sulfur dioxide kind of stuff, mud pods that were bubbling. It was so cool. There's some spots that smell like cow poop, so it was definitely interesting, and I think it was from the sulfur, but it was really cool to see. There's some areas where like the rocks were a completely like broad, like copper color. It was a different color. It was really neat. The one downside though for me is I did not wear socks with my shoes, so I ended up getting blisters on both of my heels, so that was fun. And I don't think I was prepared well enough with the water, and I was so hot. I was like dying. It was so warm, but it was a wonderful experience just to be able to walk around the volcano, see those different activities, and like we also saw different animals too, which was really fun. I don't know, I've never been close to a volcano, and just all the different volcanic activity was very unique and amazing experience to see. It was a nice little walk too. And then we went to a Walmart. We got a little allowance or an amount to spend at Walmart for lunch instead of having a picnic lunch because it was so warm that day. So yeah, the Walmart was very different from like the United States Walmart. It was not as like high end or fancy. I don't even know if a Walmart here is fancy feeling, but like it was kind of run down feeling in my opinion, and there's a lot of different options that you're not always used to. And I was hoping to get like a pre-made sandwich, like you could get in the United States Walmart, but they did not have a single like pre-made sandwich. So I went in with a couple others, and we got stuff to make sandwiches and a few other things. It was definitely a fun experience. It was different, but it was fun. And then we had some free time in the afternoon since it was so hot that none of us really wanted to do anything. We just sat and chilled in our AC rooms. And then that afternoon, some of us went on a city tour of Liberia. Well, the boys stayed back to watch the Packer game because, priorities. But on the city tour, we got to walk around, see, like, the gorgeous church of Liberia. It's insane. It was all white, like there's holes, there's mass going on. It was gorgeous. And we also got to see like the colonial houses. So there's still a couple houses that remain from the colonial era, so you could also see what even the materials they used to make, and some of them are still made out of that, so it was really cool. And also there's the Guanacaste trees, because we were in the Guanacaste province. But the Guanacaste trees, they would not cut down. They would just build the roads around the trees because of the importance of the trees to the culture, to the area, and that kind of thing. So they just made the road around the tree, which was really interesting to see, because here in the United States, we just cut down the tree and be like, we don't need it. So it was definitely different to see. And at the end of the tour, since apparently we all spent under budget at Walmart, we got ice cream. We all got a little ice cream, which was so much fun. And we headed back to the hotel, and my roommate and I went to McDonald's, and I got ice cream. I got a Kit Kat McFlurry. And when I say that thing was good, that was good. But it was definitely different because you could pick if you wanted vanilla, chocolate, or twist ice cream. But you could also add chocolate syrup or caramel syrup, which is definitely different from the United States. something I actually kind of appreciated. It was really cool. But yeah, that was the end of the day, and we just kind of chilled the rest of the night. Today we headed down to Santa Barbara, Danacoya, to do a ceramics tour. So we got to visit an eco museum. So basically learning how the people of the area used the mud and the sand to create different ceramics and different pots was really cool. We did a little walk, which I was not expecting, not gonna lie. I was also kind of upset about the walk, but what can I do about it? I went on it. It was actually really cool to see because we got to see where they would have to go to do their laundry. Like, they would go twice a week, make this half-mile walk, carrying all the laundry to do it in a little, like a natural spring. It was really cool. And then we had lunch, which was very delicious. And then we got to make our own pots using the material, which frustrated me for a while because mine was like really far out and I wanted it more upright, and I was like, I cannot figure this out. So I ended up restarting the whole thing because I was frustrated the hell out, and it ended up good, but we weren't able to like fire it or paint it, so I was worried that it was going to break, and it probably would have broke if I decided to bring it home. So I ended up just leaving it there and didn't bring anything home. But it was really fun to just learn how they use the natural materials to make their clay, and the whole process, and then it takes weeks to make a single pot, and then they only paint the pots with either red, black, or white because those are the natural materials and the natural colors. They have any other color, it's not necessarily culturally significant, but it's not accurate to the ancestors in the past and how they would make it. So it's a fun cultural experience to learn how to do. So today we headed off to Quepos, which is a long drive from Liberia. On the way, we stopped at a crocodile bridge. So this is one of the main rivers that has lots of American crocodiles in the river. So we saw 10 just off the bridge itself. People are not allowed to swim in the river due to the crocodiles. They are very aggressive. There was an incident a few months ago where someone was drunk, wandered in, and whatever. So we stopped there to see the crocodiles, and we also had lunch, which was interesting. And then we just kept on our way to Quepos, and that was it. We arrived around 3 p.m., and I just kind of relaxed because I was starting to feel sick and not well, so I didn't want to push myself and do anything. So I just chilled in the hotel for the night. today was just a free day, an optional day. A lot of students went surfing. However, I was not feeling well and wanted to make sure that I could feel better for the next few days when we had a lot going on. So I just chilled in the hotel all day. At night, I went out for dinner with a friend, just a little cafe. Otherwise, I didn't do anything. I would have went kayaking if I felt better, but I also didn't want to push myself, so there's nothing really to tell about this day. It was just a relaxed day for me, just make sure I could feel better and be okay for the next few days. So today we had to get up somewhat early to head to Manuel Antonio for the day. During class we read a lot and heard a lot about Manuel Antonio, which is a national park in Costa Rica. They are only open until 4, so we would get kicked out at like 3. So we had to kind of make the most of it. When we first got there, we had a little guided hiking tour with our tour guide Andrea. We got to see lots of different birds. We got to see a sloth again, maybe. And then we got to hang out at the beach. So it was really chill, really relaxing. The waves, there's like no waves. It was very calm. There was also a little cafe at the top of the hill that me and a friend went up to at some point. We got a smoothie, a watermelon smoothie. So today we had 2 activities. This morning we went on a whale watching tour, humpback whale watching tour. So we had to walk out to the boat, which you would think there would be like a marina, like a boat launch, kind of like the United States, where there's docks and that kind of stuff. But where we were, there was no dock. The boat was just pulled up right next to like the sand beach, just enough that it was still in the water, but like it was right at the edge where it was kind of getting stuck. So we had to walk in the water to get onto the boat, and then we went on a little cruise down the national park, and then we went out in to see a little more. There was a chance for a little bit of snorkeling, but I didn't really want to get wet and get into the water, so I just kind of chilled on the boat. We saw really cool trees, some coconut trees, a really cool rock formation as well. But we also got to see dolphins, which was really cool. They were kind of right next to us, and one of the fun things is there's a baby with them, and the baby was straight up jumping out of the water. It was so cool to see. Like I've never seen a dolphin jump all the way out of the water. I've seen dolphins before, but I've never seen them jump completely out of water. So it was really cool to see. And we didn't see any whales, which was kind of sad, and the tour was a little disappointing in my opinion. Like it was kind of just boring at a point. But it was definitely fun to see the dolphins and just kind of hang out on the boat and enjoy the nice little boat ride. Yeah, and then we went to the Nakayo waterfall. Half of the group did not want to go with, so we dropped them off at the hotel and we went. It would have been a half-hour walk, and instead, since they left, we got to get jeeps and drove to the waterfall because we only had about an hour in general, or 2. But I'm so glad we got the jeeps because the walk would have been miserable. It was like uphill, around hill, like it was all over, but the waterfall was so beautiful. It was like a mini Niagara Falls, and like reminded me of Rio, the movie, kind of like the first cut shot with the waterfall. It was so gorgeous. Some of them swam in it and was jumping off rocks, but again, I didn't really want to get wet, so I kind of just chilled, hung out, had a great time. I don't know, it was fun. I'm glad I definitely decided to go, because I was very much contemplating whether I wanted to go or not. So I'm glad I did, and it was a great experience and a very fun day. I mean, it was really relaxing and kind of chill, but it was definitely fun. So today was another optional day. Most of us went snorkeling though, which was really fun. It was kind of expensive, but I'm so glad I did it. I've never been snorkeling before. The boat ride out was an experience, because when we first were starting to leave and head to the boat, we're like, are you sure it's not gonna rain? Because it's very cloudy and like dark clouds, like rain clouds. So we're like, it's gonna rain. So on the way out, we ran into some rain. So as we were on the boat, I was over here like covering my eyes. It was going right in my eyes. It was kind of a miserable boat ride, but it was definitely fun. And when we got out there, we got the gear on, flippers on, that kind of stuff. And it was definitely a struggle at first to figure out how to like snorkel or not like inhale so much salt water, which I did in fact do. I drank so much salt water, it was kind of a problem. But I was so glad I did. There were so many fish, beautiful fish. The reefs, the little rocks and reefs were so cool. We got to see multiple sea turtles. We got to see a couple sharks. Thank God they stayed at the bottom, but they were friendly sharks because they were reef sharks apparently. So we've been told. We saw little yellow pufferfish. But yeah, even one of the sea turtles came from the bottom all the way up to get some air, and I was like within 10 feet or 5 feet of that sea turtle. It was so cool. I was so glad I did it. I did get a little burnt on the back, but you know, minor details in my opinion, but it was so cool. I'm so glad I did it. And then there was also technically sea lice, I think they're called. They're like tiny little jellyfish that sting you, which kind of sucked because I was getting stung a lot. But it was really fun. I'm so glad I went snorkeling. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't. I probably would have been disappointed in my opinion. But it was a great experience, and we were given lunch, which was okay. It wasn't the best, but it was good. And we got to spend like an hour and a half on the beach. Didn't really have much to do, so I was kind of bored, but there were so many crabs just crawling around. Like, there was a coconut that fell and was cracked open, so there was like crabs just all in it eating that coconut. It was so cool and so fun. We weren't allowed to take any shells or rocks because it was a protected national park. But it was so much fun and just really unique to see all the different animals, or I guess fish technically, all the different fish, and just like it was a unique experience that I don't think I would change for the world. And that's kind of all we did, and then we went back and we chilled for the rest of the night. So today was just our long drive back to San Jose. It was about a 7-hour drive. We stopped for lunch, buffet lunch, which was actually pretty good, not gonna lie. There was also a giant souvenir store, so I bought most of my souvenirs and stuff that I brought home there. Otherwise, it was just a drive back and get to the hotel and chilled for the night. There wasn't really much we did because it was a long drive back. But yeah, it was a great day, kind of relaxing. Didn't sleep much on the bus because I had to share my seat for once, but that's okay because I had a single most of the trip, so I wasn't really going to complain too much. But yeah, it was just kind of a chill day. Nothing to complain about, nothing exciting, just a bus ride. So today we took a little trip to a suburb of San Jose called Heredia. We did a little city tour because that is where our tour guide is originally from, Andrea. It was really fun. When we got there, we went to this market and we were given some money and names of fruits that we had to go buy. So we went as a groups of 5 to find our fruits, and we found them. And we had a little more of a tour, got to go to a church. The churches are so beautiful. They are very ornate, like decorated and like very fancy, and they're always open. Not always. They're typically open to the public. So we went in, got to look at all this beautiful stained glass windows, the altar, which was gorgeous, and just kind of sit there and reflect a little bit, honestly. Then we had our light lunch of the fruits that we picked out. So all the fruits we were given were not native fruits, but they're Costa Rican fruits that we could not find in the US because half of those I did not know what they were. Honestly, there's not a single one that I liked. A lot of them I was disgusted by. Like, a lot of them were sour. I'm not a sour person. They were just, none of them really stood out being like, oh, I could eat. None of them really stood out being like, oh, I could eat that, like, every day. That is good. Like, I could eat the whole thing. None of them really did that for me. Then we had a little time, so we went and found a Pops, which is an ice cream. Good ice cream place. They should have that in the States, in my opinion. And then after that, we had our Latin dance class, which was very fun. We got to learn 4 different dances. We had partners and everything, but some of them were very difficult and complicated, but otherwise it was fun. Like, it was definitely hot. I was sweating so much, and I didn't have my water, but it was really fun an experience to just kind of learn the different dances that they do and just kind of see that, like, I don't know. It was really fun. And then we had a sad dinner, a farewell dinner. We got to say goodbye to our bus driver, Jonathan. Shout out to this man. Johnny on the spot is what we would call him, because he drove a coach bus, our coach bus the whole time, and he did amazing. He would get us in these tiny spots and up these curvy roads with this coach bus, and backed her in or backed it up a whole street just to get us out of where we were and back to our hotel, and like keeping us safe. So it was really sad to say goodbye to him, but I am forever grateful for him, because I would never want to do that, honestly. I wouldn't even want to drive in Costa Rica with a normal car, let alone with a coach bus. Like, I cannot, and it was sad. But we had a great dinner, had a little, I don't know, reception is not the right word, but a little farewell kind of. It was a great experience. Grateful for all the work that was put into it, grateful for doing it. Yeah, it was a sad night because it was the last night, but I was kind of glad that it was coming to an end, honestly, just because I was sick of sweating all the time. But yeah, that was the end of our last full day in Costa Rica. It was our last day officially in Costa Rica. Not full day, just last day in general. Got up, had nothing to do until 10:30 when we were leaving for the airport. So a few of us went to a local supermarket to get our chocolate, of course, to bring home to our families, or any other Costa Rican foods and stuff that we wanted. So we did that in the morning, then we just kind of hung out, but it was very sad to leave our tour guide, Andrea. She was amazing. She was with us the whole time, mentioned a lot of fun facts with us, and she was great. I could definitely recommend her if you ever go to Costa Rica and you want a tour guide. She was great. But yeah, we had to leave the hotel at 10:30 for the airport. We got to the airport. Check-in went really smooth. It was really quick. TSA or security was really quick too. Yeah, it was really, really sad. We had to go through a second security when we got to Panama to get to Chicago for some reason. I don't know, and we weren't allowed water, so it was kind of a miserable flight because we didn't have water. But I tried my best to sleep on the Chicago flight. Then we got to Chicago. We landed at like 11:30. Had to obviously get off the plane. Had to go through customs, which was super chill, super quick, not really a big deal. Then we had to wait for our bags. Our bags took forever. Like, I don't think we started getting our bags till like 12:30. Just saying. It was bad. And then we had to go through customs, which was really simple. Just had to hand them a paper and we left. Then we had to get our Uber back to our car, which was a difficult thing to do because we had to take airport transportation from Terminal 5, which we were at, to Terminal 2 and then get the Uber. But our Uber driver was a godsend because he let us use his snow brush because, again, there's like snow in Wisconsin and we were not really prepared for coming back to the cold because we wanted to make sure we had enough room for everything we bought, and it was going to be warm in Costa Rica, so what's the point of taking a winter coat? But our Uber driver helped us out a little bit. We got back to Whitewater at 4, and that was the end of the trip. It's so cumbersome to think about, but I'm so glad I did it. That's the end of the trip. I'm so glad that I went. Now that I'm here in Wisconsin, I definitely miss the warm weather and the no snow. It is so cold. It's insane. But being able to experience different culture, different food, different language, just a different environment was something that I'm grateful for and something I'm glad I did. I've always been aware that there's definitely different cultures and different ways that people communicate in the world because not everything revolves around being American and what us in the United States do, especially in Wisconsin, because even in the United States, things can vary drastically within the country. But just being able to experience a whole different country and how different it is, especially when it comes to the toilet paper situation or driving and how close people get or how like different the traffic laws can be as well, and just like how different it is because they don't always accept American money. It has to be colones, which is their national currency, or their communication between one another, or how they treat or try and communicate with us as people who do not always speak English. So it's something unique to kind of navigate and work through, especially someone who doesn't exactly know a lot of Spanish, trying to pick up on some of the main words or bits and pieces, just trying to communicate with them as much as I can, so that way I'm not trying to make them understand me as English. I'm trying to meet them at where they are because I am in their country. They're not in my country. So that's kind of one of the things, and just kind of being aware that it's not just about me in this country. I am not from this country. I am here visiting this country. So I need to try to adapt to what this country wants and how they run and how they live their life. Just trying to do that, because if I stick with my ways in the country, it would leave them worse off. It probably wouldn't benefit them, or like it would cause problems, and that's not what I was there for. So yeah, for me it was mostly trying to meet them, trying to learn their culture, or just understand it, and trying to do what I can, so that way I'm not impacting the way they live now and in the future. So for me it was a little stressful as an individual who has allergies and other medical concerns. The food and the complete difference in language made things scary for me, as I wouldn't always know what would be in something or what something is, that I could potentially be allergic to, so I had to be kind of on high alert at the beginning. But after a while, I kind of got used to, okay, this thing should be fine for me to eat. Like, this should be okay. There shouldn't be anything in here that will cause me problems. So I was just trying to be open-minded and keep that open and that kind of thing. And especially in the world of business, which is my major, not everyone that we do business with has the same culture and way of communication as I do. So being able to experience this difference and kind of learn how to be more willing to adapt to it and how to best go about navigating it and making sure that I do what I can to make sure that I'm not forcing them to do something they don't, or like I'm trying to understand their motives, will help me like in the future do business with other countries or people who come from different backgrounds, because not everyone is the same. So just kind of like developing my openness even more and willingness, and just being able to try and communicate with others in what they know best, and not trying to be like, English is the best and that kind of thing. Just trying to meet them where they are is something that definitely opened me up on this trip. And just kind of learning Costa Rican culture as well was completely different than what we do and kind of unique. I'm very grateful for what we have as a society in the United States and what we have available to us compared to Costa Rica. But I don't know. It was very humbling for many things, and just kind of eye-opening and be like, oh, that's how they do it? Like, that's different, but that's so cool. Like, I would have never thought to do that, or I would have never tried that type thing. So, I don't know. Something that I probably will be less likely to avoid, or more likely to avoid, I guess I should say, is just trying to force them into being like me, I guess. I don't think I've ever really done that to anyone, or hope I haven't, I guess I should say. But it's just one of those things where when you're doing business especially, you expect them to be a certain way, but when they're from a different culture, things can vary differently. So I'm going to try my best to make sure that I meet them halfway, and I try not to expect a certain thing or a certain action or certain experiences to come out of an interaction with certain people or different cultures, because it's not gonna probably be what I expected, because none of the whole trip was anywhere where I expected, but in a good way. I was opened up to more things than what I expected, what I anticipated, and it was a great experience, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Something that was probably the most enjoyable for me would be just like trying and seeing the differences in the food. Like, even the soda was so different. It's less carbonated, in my opinion. It's got less of a like hard sugar taste. Like, it's more of a calm sugar. Like, it's a lot smoother, in my opinion, for soda. Or like the food has different tastes, or like they use cane sugar instead of like artificial sugar, or like that kind of stuff. So it was definitely fun to like see those food differences and how kind of crappy our food standards are in the United States, which is kind of sad, but like, I don't know, it's one of those things where you don't realize how bad it is until you leave and then come back, honestly. But something that was probably difficult was, I don't know, just trying not to take anything for granted, I guess, and trying to be in the moment. Sometimes I forgot to, like, you know, exist and, like, be there instead of, like, oh, I gotta check my phone, or oh, I gotta take a picture of this. Like, just trying to be in the moment, because I was kind of also worried about this project, but I don't know, being in the moment, I should have just kept trying to do more. But yeah, it was a great experience. I wouldn't change it for the world. I'd recommend it to anyone. No matter where you go, you're going to have a life-changing experience, and you're going to realize a lot of things about yourself and about others that you didn't realize until you actually did. So once again, I'm so glad I went on this trip, as much as I was very nervous about it before we left. I'm so glad I did, and I don't know, it's going to be one of those things where I'm never going to forget it, and it's always going to be with me, and I am so, like, I don't know, I don't have the words for it anymore, but I am so glad, and I'm so happy that this was something I was able to do and understand and learn more about myself, and I'm so glad to be sharing it with those who watch this video, and I don't, honestly, I'm lost for words. Like, I can't believe I did it. I can't believe I enjoyed every single part of it, and I recommend it, and I hope you all try to understand that not everyone is the same, because no matter where you are, things will be different within a mile, within a minute. You never know what you'll come across, so always keep an open mind. And that's probably the biggest takeaway, is keep an open mind and just have a can-do attitude, like it's an experience. Sometimes you can't do anything about what happens, but be glad it happens, because it happens for a reason. And whether you know that reason in the moment or not, there's a reason. And you will never regret doing something and being open and trying new things, meeting new people, going places, because it's going to be with you for life, and it's going to change you for the better. So please do what you can, and I'm so thankful for everything, and I hope everyone has the opportunities as I do. So that's what I've got to say.